Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of October the 3rd, 2022. We have a really intense sky playing out this week because this acts like a preparation for the upcoming eclipses, which are just around the corner, and also we end the week with a full moon in the sign of Aries, which can be very important and sometimes game changing for a lot of us in so very many ways, but without a shadow of a doubt on the world stage collectively, it is going to be very relevant and important and emotionally awakening, but collectively speaking. So, that's so and so. But there is a lot of empowerment in the sky. This is also where the big wrap up of this third Mercury retrograde season of 2020 is ongoing, under process, under construction, so to speak. So all of us are getting some very practical clarity, dates, time, what to do, what not to do. And remember that one part of this Mercury retrograde season, targeted relationships, marriages, alliances, contracts, already formed partnerships one way or another. So this is also the week when we get the wrap up of that. Are we truly gonna divorce? Are we truly gonna separate? Are we truly gonna leave the job, the career, the life path, etc.? Or did something under this Mercury retrograde already changed our hearts? Maybe not our minds, but our hearts are different. Venus entered not so long ago. Oh, I'm so sorry, I need to take this back to the 3rd. So on the 3rd, at the beginning of the week, Venus is at 4 degrees of her ruling sign of Libra, opposing Jupiter. The opposition is breaking up as Venus is advancing, but it was this opposition that kind of told us what we and who we truly love, and what we, even if the mind says, let it go, do something else. Maybe Venus says, I cannot sacrifice the love that I have cherished for so long. So this is the game-changing moment for a lot of us. Are we gonna abandon it, or quite the contrary, rebuild it, demolish it and rebuilding? And this can be perfectly valid if it's a romantic relationship. It's if it's a marriage. It's not too late in the sense that both partners can demolish with the wrecking ball their old ideals, even their old identities, who they used to be before the relationship, before the marriage, in the marriage, but today, in the now, with the situations of the now, collectively especially, money, finances, what is available for the future if the partner, if the couple have a child, school and education, and everything is under the wrecking ball but under construction at the same time, dichotomously, with the Saturn and Uranus tension, or the ongoing one, because Saturn and Uranus, the wrecking ball but the reconstruction at the same time. As you see, let's just look at anywhere on my screen where we see the glyph of Aquarius. The two waves, the two lines, they can coexist perfectly, even if they're either contradictory or dichotomous in nature. So, yep, it is possible for something to be both dying, being destroyed, deconstructed, purged down to the very basis, but reconstructed at the same time simultaneously. And quantumly, that is the reality we're living right now. So you can imagine that, emotionally speaking, that's not so very easy for us. But again, we have a lot of empowerment here. We have a lot of results. But before I get to the positive side of things, the empowerment, let's look at the hidden little devil in the chart here, which is unfortunately Neptune. The Neptune is the spirit, the source. But sometimes let's associate Neptune with alcohol or certain substances. It's also the spirit with horns. And towards the end of the week, before we have the Aries full moon, we have also a Neptune moon conjunction. That's where two horns meet. The moon also has horns, and Neptune also has horns. And when I say horns, it's not the sexy kind of horns, but it's that kind of horns which is bad, which is dangerous. Collectively speaking, it's lie, illusion, manipulation, psychological warfare, but to that extent where it even makes the soul sick. And I'm not exaggerating. This is one of those weeks where a lot of people who are sensitive, emotionally intelligent, spiritual, connected, empathic, whatever, are actually going to be sick at the soul level, as in almost like a vomit, as the soul says, puke. It pukes out the sadness, the fakeness, the lies. This defends itself. But all of that is actually quite positive, because this is where the soul says, I'm not immersing into illusion. No. I have a rubber ducky. I'm never gonna sink in those waters that are coming before me. So that is very, very positive, because our past experiences, this Mercury retrograde, the upcoming Mars retrograde, but 2021's eclipses in Gemini, those kind of were the rubber ducky for us. We were bombarded with so much deception and things which are truly absurd, that we developed a strong resilience immunity. The rubber ducky. We're not gonna sink, chances are, in the collective waters, but this is where Neptune, and especially when it meets the moon, it squares Mars, it opposes Mercury. That's a T-square that can be a tiny little bit heavy, because Neptune is in the degree of decan of Pisces, which is called the undoing of the self. This can bring forward hopelessness, the feeling that the future is simply not there, and that feeling is quite true in the sense that Saturn and Uranus square. Of course, we cannot feel the future because it's like a Lego, but in a bag. It's not built yet. The building blocks are there, the design is there, the plan is there, the hope is there, the dream is there. But because it's right now, we see that it's just in a bag. It doesn't have the shape and form that it needs yet. That might be a little bit confusing for us. That might make us feel very, very heavy. That might amplify the Mars in Gemini's also most darkest expression, where if a certain part of the mind has enough motives to depress us, demotivate us, defeat us, the toxic mindset, it flares up and it does the job. It breaks our progress. It undoes our healing. Perhaps some of us, our lives depended on healing, literally. And if we allow this Neptune to undo our effort, our suffering, our pain for months, for years, and some of us for all of our lives, then we're profoundly unwise, because Neptune here has to be put in its place. We cannot allow Neptune to try and drown us from within. Because imagine, if you have a rubber ducky and the water around you, forget rubber ducky. Some of us have luxury boats, yachts, Noah's Ark or whatever. We cannot drown. But imagine if water builds up in the lungs. the ark, the boat, it won't help us. So let us not live in the illusion that the rubber ducky slash the boat keeps us safe, because it does keep us safe from external voters, but not from the inner one. Because this is literally what can happen. The lung fills up with liquids and we have a sensation of drowning. So maybe this week might be a bit sensitive for those who suffer from asthma or respiratory diseases. But this can also represent symbolically what happens in our psyche, as in depression, not being able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Who are our friends and who truly aren't? And perhaps this is the kind of energy you see under this Mercury going direct. It is already advancing forward. On the 3rd, okay, it's standing still, really, pretty much. It's not doing much. But that is even more important because we know the truth. We know basically that which we must do. But we don't know basically morally, emotionally, as in frequency resonance, a similarity, who truly is our friend and not. Because the problem right now is not who loves us, who helps us, who is there for us. This is not a problem right now, because that is very clear by now, the practical side of things. The problem right now is something on a soul level that we cannot rationalize and explain. A person, a friend, a soul might be perfect in our lives practically, and we still feel that we cannot honor them back, for example, or that even if they try their very hardest, their efforts are wasted on us. The drowning effect. So, yeah, this might be a complicated week psychologically. And mentally, you see, Mercury is going direct, so in Virgo it knows what it needs to know. And perhaps that knowledge is now being processed on a deep unconscious level. And it's hard, because this is when the inner being reacts. When Mercury has the answers, not when it doesn't. When Mercury has the answers, then is when, our inner being reacts. It cries, it faces the truth, but we need to allow our minds to be our own psychologist, therapist, cleric, whatever, our best friend. Because if it starts defeating us, then this is not a good time. This is not a good time to be defeated, because there is a lot of empowerment in the sky that can give us the option not to do this. So, choosing to drown right now is not pardonable karmically, really, because we have solutions also in our lives, in any way, shape and form, and I'll get to that in a moment. But like every T-square, this can have a positive effect to it. This is where this Neptune, it's water, Neptune, ultimately we cannot deny the watery nature of it, but Mercury is a water planet as well. And when Mercury and Neptune sometimes meet in an opposition, and they know that they cannot get in each other's way, because an opposition, in the best possible sense, is like a compromise, is like a forced balance when it's forced. But both of these planets, Mercury and Neptune, have a special quality to them where they know sometimes not to get in the way, when they know that they have to bring the very, very best of them, even if it's an opposition. So they can freeze each other. And when it's an ice that doesn't get in the way, it feels weird. Emotions do not help you. Your intuition is a bit blocked. But even if in this inner blockage, see the beauty of it. Ice will not drown you. It's not the Titanic where the iceberg, you know. That's not the kind of ice I'm talking about. It's when all water is ice. Still, stable, tough, actually. So when that water is ice, ice is a crystal. Crystal contains information, truth that cannot be altered. Neptune, a state that cannot be altered. And if you're wise, that state is hope. We freeze hope. Then hope cannot leave us because it's frozen. It's within us. It's within the crystal of our souls. And when I say freeze the water, this does not mean to make our hearts cold and, block of ice. Because no, this has not much to do with the direct heart, the source, the chakra. This is just feelings, the Neptune, the psyche. This is the deep, deep psyche, the unconscious even. So if we freeze hope into it, love into it, Neptune, a big dream that I don't care how things are, it is gonna be okay. Why? Because I know the source. Neptune is also the past, Private Pisces. If the source was kind to you, understanding to you, it saved your skin 10 trillion times, then you know that it's the relationship you have with the source. Freeze that in, log that into the crystal of your soul, let it crystallize, then Mars will work ultimately, because it has to work, but both sides of Gemini, shadow or and light, or call it however you want, because Gemini can be higher self and the mundane self, the higher mind and the lower mind together. Gemini can represent a lot of dual expressions, but everything dual can sometimes be a good ally, best mate, out of force. How can the mind defeat you if there's ice, crystal? Mercury commands it, the ruler, that, well, ultimately, right now, it's more than enough to know the truth in your soul. If this is Mercury's information, then we go to the truth to your soul. Neptune and Moon conjunction later on, before the new moon, then you truly know your deal. Because it's crystal, it's not flowing, it's solid for a moment. So there's hope in your unconscious. There are beautiful dreams. There is the energy of Christ, or replace the word Christ with any grand master or whatever you want that inspires you. What unconditional love means to you. Then this Mars can only go right. This Mars has the one singular direction, and in both sides can be Mars's wings. Two can become wings, because ultimately Mars is the hand, Gemini is the hands, arm, hands, and for birds, those are wings already, and they fly. Gemini an air sign, and here Mars just entered the Libra decan of Gemini. So it activates the Venusian side of Gemini, the lovers. And the lovers are notorious for, they make their words and their thoughts so loving that they get what they want. So you can imagine, that's positive. The only way it can be really negative is if this is like a mud. Water flows, everything flows, it's not clear. You drown one way or another in it. So it's not okay. But if you fuel it with every fiber of hope and basically dignity for the self, I really think that you cannot go wrong. Because that's how you make sure that this Neptune is not gonna try and sabotage you. But then again, collectively speaking, it's not the same theme because collectively it's gonna flow. Oh, it's gonna flow. The news are gonna be overloaded. But of course, this is not a one-time energy. This is the rest of the year. Because this Mars will be touching Neptune on and off. So, you know, whatever we see right now, how the news are flooded with so very many different things. Conspiracies, public lies, public... This is where the world stage is, where it's like a kindergarten, really. It's not mature people, not mature souls, not politicians who have universities and academic training who are at play, but children, like proper kindergarten. And please do not condemn me for what I'm about to say now. And it's not even normal kindergarten, but it's kindergarten with children with ADHD. So it's not, it can't, whatever is going on, let's be honest with each other. The divine intelligence, the divine source cannot be delighted. Okay, so let's get to the really positive side of things. We have, first of all, Mercury, and here it shows a trine to Uranus, but it's not, so I'm not going to take that into consideration. It's a small, very insignificant energy where, yeah, information and synchronicities come your way to encourage you, but this is where the strength truly lies. Mercury, as it went retrograde, it went under this aspect, and it also goes direct under the same aspect. So this is the big wrap-up. Not only is Mercury going direct, but when this aspect is, ongoing, Pluto is standing still in the sky, and it will go also direct. So if that's not a big wrap-up, if that's not a big completion, a solution of something, a situation, a need, an urgency, then I don't know what is. Empowerment, a very, very strong empowerment. Ignoring this T-squares and Mars and all of that, if we just focus on this Mercury retrograde trine, Mercury direct, trining Pluto stationary, either a truth empowers us, resources empower us, a contract empowers us, a problem that has been ongoing in our lives for maybe a long time, this Virgo, is finally getting solved, a medical problem, or anything that has been the theme of this Mercury retrograde season. Because for some people, you can imagine, it's definitely not purely material and stuff like that, but it can be, as I said, a relationship or their modus vivendi, their way of living, basically, their everyday routines, their normality. Anything changing, a massive upgrade there, it's positive, yeah, in 3 months, or for some people a year too. But when we're doing it, it's highly, highly, highly uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable. So, yeah. There is a not so easy part of this energy, even if it's very, very empowering. But the good side of it is that it truly, truly, truly gets the job done. It is executory energy. And it's also mental, but also quite material, because Earth trine. And it's also under the effect of retrograde, so it does favor anything from the past being resolved. But at the same time, if you would need some resources for your future, there it is, one way or another. May it be a situation, a relationship, a contract, a friend, something, a recognition from the past, but something for a lot of people, and including the world stage, of course, is gonna be solved, or resources are coming in. And this Pluto, as it goes direct, is the wrecking ball in Capricorn. So it's demolishing the old order. And this autumn is going to be one of the highlights of this. This is where the wrecking ball like touches something that makes a big mess, you know, but the deconstruction process is well ongoing, so to speak. So this is where this autumn and this Pluto going direct now is beginning the wrecking ball. But what does that mean? The wreckage has a lot of resources that we can reuse. It's actually riches. It's the best kind of riches, if that even makes sense, because it's like free raw resource that we don't even have to refine all that much because it was part of a old building. And understand this alchemically and symbolically in your life. Whatever that free resource is for you, energy, emotion, creativity, free time, money, your career, your skills, something that you're, I don't know, but there is free resource, and we have to use that free resource to put it on the construction side, if you know what I mean, because the wrecking is there, and you can see the the economical crisis is gonna get tougher and tougher and tougher. This is when also the Uranus and Saturn square is gonna start getting exact. So yeah, the wrecking ball, economically, value-wise, and also collective emotion-wise, collective value-wise, because this is where we get so deep into the Plutonian activity of it that for this Pluto, for the direct Pluto of 2020, the material side, political side, financial side is not enough. It wants to cut deep to the core of the collective emotion, collective psyche. So this is when things are in a way which it's unimaginable. No one alive on this planet has ever even imagined what we are heading towards, and not necessarily doom and gloom wise, simply that it's so new and unprecedented that we can't even have an opinion about it, neither in a positive or negative way. But what we do have is love and hope, and those are the two things that can never ever go wrong, because that's the universal law. Anyway, there are other energies in the sky, because this Mars trines Saturn, and that's where, yeah, work pays off, effort pays off, communication pays off, something, an action, a gesture from the past, Mars still retrograde, or from something just now, Mars in shadow, is paying off, is getting the job done. There is action, there is solution, there is resolution. Now on the world stage, this might not necessarily be the most delightful trine, because this can empower militaristic plans, aggressive plans. It empowers law enforcement, the coercive power of the state. So you can imagine for conflicts, and everyone is tough. So power means power for every side. So the fangs become that much more, you know, obvious. But for us personally, this can do a lot of good, really, really a lot of good. And as I said, this Venus opposing Jupiter, our faith has to be aligned with the heart as well. With the heart, with the mind, with our principles. This is where all sides of our being has to be in unison. So we cannot have an aspiration, but our daily routines or our mindset is the total opposite. Because we, under this energy, that is where, don't even try it. You need to be in unison. You need to harmonize all sides of you, where your emotion is there, your lower mind is there, so your every single day thoughts are there. When you wake up in the morning, your very first thought is an empowering one. That's when you know that your mind is trying to get in the right position. When your very first thought when you wake up in the morning is already the spark of hope and passion of what you're wanting to accomplish, regardless in which sense. So yeah, This is where the mind needs to be there, the heart, Venus, healthy value system. This is where we have to know what value means to us personally, and what is the healthy expression of it, and what is that which we cannot accept in our lives. And the sun holds a... Actually, let's put it to that aspect. So towards the end of the week, the sun holds a quincunx with Uranus. Again, this is where surprises can come in very, very unexpected ways, and from unexpected people, unexpected offers, unexpected choices. This is where, when we dare to think outside of the box, when we dare for at least a moment to think differently than us, the old us, the ego that we always used to know, surprising results might come in our lives, even if it's just a mental energy. At this time, Pluto is standing still in the sky, preparing to go direct. So the official end of Pluto retrograde, of course not official in the sense that it's not out of shadow, it hasn't gotten back to the degree where it started, but it won't go backward anymore, not really. That's just an optical illusion. In real life, no planet ever goes retrograde. So, that's very significant for us, but collectively as well. Financially, resources, fuel, gas, and with Neptune also aggravated liquid fuel crisis, energetic crisis, World Bank. So we're gonna see all of this play out on the world stage. And again, the legal fights are gonna be getting stronger, tougher, and with Mercury still in Virgo, the medical side of this stuff, complications, where legal investigations almost overwhelm the medical world. They block the medical world. And blockages in aviation, that Jupiter. So yeah, there is a lot happening this week. And, you know, this is where sometimes even the empowering aspects, they empower even that which holds the problem. So, you know, but individually speaking, this has a good side to it, without a shadow, because we make the choice and we don't regret it. We do what we need to do. We do what we must. And with Pluto going direct, this is where, again, the wrecking ball is swinging. This is where it's starting. And before I get to the full moon, let's see a few Astro Ascendant and Cancer. Again, motherhood, family, parenting, partners, married partners, allies, as, you know, for the sake of the children or parenting. And let us not forget the Eris and Pluto square. So revolution, protest, uprising, the collective emotion is going to be all-time high. So we have to expect disruption. And finally, this is where we have the full moon in the sign of Aries on the 9th of October. Now this will do. So this full moon in the sign of Aries, well, the thing is, this energy was building ever since the beginning of the year. Ever since the beginning of the astrological year, when the sun entered Aries in 2022. So you can imagine that this energy will have a very, very strong eruptive side to this. Because the truth is out, and this is individualistic energy. Finally, we are doing something. Conjunct Chiron. It really triggered. It's salt on the wound. The collective wound. But individually speaking, it can be totally opposite. This is the healing ointment, the honey, the medicine, the disinfectant on the wound. Or the healing kiss from mommy or whoever, wife, or, and Jupiter is not part of it, but still in the vicinity. So justice, courts of justice, fighting for justice. What is justice? People are gonna denounce, I don't know how to say that, the earthly law. They say, no, 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 divine law, not earthly law. So there is a lot of twists and turns here. Religion, religion will uprise in a sense that it will be part of something big. But legally speaking, as in this is not legally, as in officially, legally, politically. And, the Sun is close to Venus. Again, this highlights the justice aspect, courts of justice, trials. What is gonna happen? And with Chiron here, old collective wounds, ethnic wounds, conflicts between nations, but going from thousands of years, where genes don't support one another. It is the genes between nations that don't support one another. An ancient hatred, perhaps one that is way over the human sphere, which is for once humanity is not responsible for that. This is where hatred and aggression can become alive in genes, but in such a way where basically nations will not tolerate one another. And I don't want to get further into this because perhaps okay, but Venus, justice, again, the call for justice, the call for equilibrium. Forced peace is one way that this can manifest itself. But peace is peace. Forced, okay, but peace is still peace. This aspect, because Venus also opposes basically Chiron. So this can mean forgiveness, but it can also mean the opposite. Because in opposition, we are the ones who determine in an opposition kind of which planet will triumph. The astrological energy, without a shadow of a doubt. There is a rule, the Ptolemaic rule, which planet is stronger and which will be dominant and triumph. But in our souls, personally, who says that we cannot empower the Venus more than anything else? Who says we cannot empower the